What's up, guys? Today we'll be talking about my top 5 best Motorola budget phones that you should check out. Most of these phones I have tested myself, so let's go ahead and get started. First is the Moto G9 Plus. So this is an excellent phone. This phone is for somebody that likes really big phones because it is a massive phone, as you'll see. It costs around $280 right now, brand new, and it's got a plastic design. It's not super flashy. It does have a really kind of hefty weight to it as well. It doesn't feel super cheap, and also I like the back on here. It doesn't pick up a whole bunch of fingerprints, this specific color, but you have a massive IPS display. It's a 6.81 inch HDR10 1080p panel, 386 for the PPI with the punch hole. Overall, it's a really nice panel. Like I said, it's a very big phone, so when you're watching content and stuff on this phone, it is a really nice experience. Colors look pretty good as well, and the screen is fairly bright, so I did not have any issue with that. You get pretty much a stock version of Android 10 with the Motorola add-ons. So you have Android 10 on here. This is expected to get Android 11, of course, the Snapdragon 730G and Adreno 618 processor. Overall, speed-wise, the phone was pretty fast. I did a whole gaming test and stuff like that if you guys want to check that out, but speed-wise, the phone was fast. You get micro SD support, 128 gigs of storage, and 4 gigs of RAM. So if you want to do like some kind of high to medium gaming on here, you can do that, no problem. I didn't have any issues. This phone does have a headphone jack, but unfortunately, this phone does not have stereo speakers, which would have been excellent for such a massive phone of this size. But the speaker on it is fine. It's not a terrible speaker. Just dual speakers on big phones should be a must. Now you do have NFC on board as well as a fingerprint scanner mounted on the side, which is a excellent and my favorite position to put it because it just makes getting into the phone extremely easy. So you do have on here okay cameras. I'm not gonna say great cameras, they're okay, and you'll see why. But you have a quad camera setup, 64 megapixel standard, 8 megapixel ultra wide, 2 megapixel macro, 2 megapixel depth, and you get 4K video, a 16 megapixel selfie, 1080p video, and the images I took were a little bit softer compared to the previous Motorola G8 Plus in Power. So I was really kind of disappointed with the camera quality on here. It's not terrible, but if you're in good lighting, you get a pretty good photo. It's just, it seemed like it was a downgrade from the previous generation in terms of softness and color accuracy. So you do have a massive battery, so this is like the big selling point with this. It's a 5,000 milliamp battery with very fast charging at 30 watts. This phone I could not kill in a day at all. So if you need a phone that's going to get you through 2 days of battery life and charge really fast, this is a really great option. Next is the Moto G9 Power, currently 200 bucks, and this phone has pretty much the same design. It's got sort of the matte kind of plastic thing on it, which I like. It doesn't pick up fingerprints really well, but you do have a water repellent coating on this one, so if you're like in the rain, this phone won't break immediately. I wouldn't recommend submerging it though. But you do have, again, a massive display at 6.8 inches, a very big phone. It's an IPS display, but it's 720p 263 for the PPI, so it's not going to look as good as the G9's plus 1080p panel for sure when you're watching videos, but overall the display quality was okay for 200 bucks. I'm not really going to complain about it. It was fairly bright, and it has the punch hole as well. So you do have Android 10 with the Snapdragon 662 and Adreno 610. Performance wise, again, it was fine. It's not really demanding running stock Android on these phones, so I've never really felt slowdowns and stuff like that. With performance, gaming was fine on here. You can definitely do casual gaming on here, no problem. You do have micro SD support and 128 gigs of internal storage, which I thought was really good because usually at this price you get around 64, but they're giving you a lot of storage here along with 4 gigs of RAM. You do have a 3.5 millimeter jack with a single firing speaker that sounded fine, had no issues with that. You also get NFC, and the fingerprint scanner is rear mounted, and that one was fine. It was very fast. I had no issues, but you do have a triple camera setup, which is okay as well. I wasn't super blown away, but the photos, as you can see, came out pretty decent. You have a 64 megapixel standard, a 2 megapixel macro, and a 2 megapixel depth, 1080p 16 megapixel selfie. I would have liked to seen 4K video on this phone, but as you can see from the image quality, you get good photos again and good lighting. That's sort of the theme with these Motorola phones. If you take them out of good lighting, the photos start to get really soft and stuff like that, but in good lighting, they look great. The main selling point with this phone is the massive 6,000 milliamp battery. This phone is impossible to kill in a day. I think even for a harder user, because you got the 720p screen and then you got a 6,000 milliamp, it was just really hard to kill this phone. You have 20-watt fast charging. I think for a light user, this is easily like a 2.5-day phone. Easy. So the battery life is amazing on this phone. Definitely for somebody who wants a phone that's gonna last them a long time. All right, so my personal favorite is still the G8 Power on this list. It's my sort of favorite phone on this list, and you'll see why. But right now it's a little under 200 bucks. It's around like 160, 70 right now. So it's got the sort of same design. It's got a plastic design on here, water repellent coating as well. You also have a 6.4-inch IPS display, but this display is 1080p. Which is really nice at $399 for the PPI. So if you don't want a massive phone that's 6.8, this 6.4 inches is pretty, I guess, compact-ish. Not really, but kind of. So you do have on here Android 10. It is upgradable to Android 11, so it is getting that update. You'd have the Snapdragon 665 and Adreno 610. Had zero issues with performance again on this phone. It was very fast, very speedy. Again, you could do some high to medium setting gaming on here. So for casual gaming, it's fine. You do have micro SD support, 64 gigs of internal storage and 4 gigs of RAM on here. What I love about this phone is that this phone has stereo speakers and they sound really good. So I don't know why Motorola took that away, but it's got stereo speakers. They sound excellent, very loud, very crystal clear. Love them. So you do have a 3.5mm jack. The only thing with this phone is you don't have NFC on here, so if you rely on mobile payments, that's not going to be there. The fingerprint scanner is physical. It's on the back. That works really fast as well. And also, you have excellent cameras on here. So you have a 16 megapixel standard, 8 megapixel telephoto, and an 8 megapixel ultra wide. You also have a 2 megapixel macro, 4K video, and 16 megapixel selfie camera. I prefer the images on the G8 Power. It just looks overall much better. Images aren't super soft. You get good detail, and most importantly, color accuracy is really good on this phone as well. You get 4K video. I just think the images come out really good on this generation of the G series. So I do really like the cameras on the G8 Power. You also have on here a really nice size battery as well, a 5,000 milliamp battery, 18-watt fast charging. Again, this is a phone easily can last you 1.5 to 2 days of battery life, depending on how you use it. It is definitely a battery life champ. Next is the Moto G Stylus, the 2021 edition, and this is a great phone. So this one is kind of competing with the G9 Plus, but it's got way smaller battery life. That's the only reason that I would recommend this over that one, but it's got kind of a smaller battery. So it's at around 300 bucks, but this is for people that's geared towards the stylus things. So if you like to draw, or if you like to just navigate with a stylus, then this is great. It's got a plastic design, water repellent coating as well, a very big 6.8-inch IPS display. It is 1080p. 389 for the PPI with the punch hole as well. This phone comes with Android 10 with the Snapdragon 678, Adreno 612, so a pretty snappy processor. You should have no issues with performance on this phone. You also have micro SD support and 128 gigs of internal storage with 4 gigs of RAM on here. You also have a 3.5mm jack. It would have been nice to see stereo speakers on, again, these $300 sort of almost mid-rangers, right? You do not have NFC on the Stylus as well, which kind of sucks, but you do have a physical fingerprint scanner on here as well, which looks very fast. You also have pretty good cameras from what I've seen, 48 megapixel standard, 8 megapixel ultra wide with a 2 megapixel macro and 2 megapixel depth sensor. You also have 4K video with a 16 megapixel selfie camera that shoots in 1080p. And this phone has sort of a smaller battery, so like I said, compared to all the rest of the Motorola phones, this one kind of has a smaller battery at 4,000 milliamps and with kind of a slow charging speed at 10 watts as well. So you can see Motorola kind of cuts some corners here, I guess, to make the Stylus or whatever, but So it has weird like spec cuts. But again, 4,000 milliamps could definitely get you through a day, no problem. So it really comes down to, do you want the stylus or not? All right, so the cheapest phone on this list right now, it's currently going for like 130 right now unlocked, is the Moto G7 Power. Again, an excellent phone, very fast phone as well. Have a plastic design on here, so not super flashy. And you also have a 6.2 inch 720p 279 for the PPI IPS display. And again, you kind of have a big notch up top, but honestly, it's not a huge issue when I was using it. And the display is fine. Again, not anything too crazy. It's just okay. This did get the Android 10 update. It's got the Snapdragon 632 and Adreno 506. So speed-wise, the phone was fairly snappy. I didn't have any issues with speed. You also have micro SD support. Kind of low memory at 32 gigs, but like I said, you do have SD support if you need it. 3 gigs of RAM on here as well. You also have the headphone jack, pretty decent sounding speaker on this one. NFC is on board along with a fingerprint scanner, physical one that works fast. Pretty decent cameras, nothing too crazy. It's only got a single lens, a 12 megapixel, standard with 4K video, 8 megapixel selfie. The cameras were fine on here. As you can see, it's not anything that's going to blow you away. I wish when it came out that they put the ultra wide on here, but it's fine for what it is. The main sort of selling point with this phone is the battery life. This phone does have really good battery life, 5,000 milliamps with 18-watt fast charging. So definitely a 2-day phone for sure. Now, this is a great option for anybody that wants great battery life and just a pretty decent phone for pretty much $100. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.